We've had some difficult seasons recently, but over the span of this relationship, no other driver-team partnership has come close to matching what we've done together.
Hi everyone, I'm Olivia, and today I'm joined by James Allison answering all your questions for the final Akkodis Debrief of 2024, the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Now James, it was quite an emotional race, of course Lewis's last race with Mercedes. Can you just summarize the overall feeling within the team?
I think it'd be very hard to summarize such a complex set of feelings. We would, of course, love this whole season, let alone the last race, to be more of a fairy tale ending to a partnership that has set all the benchmarks in Formula One. It would have been fitting if we could have finished on the podium at the very least, or ideally on the top step, but that wasn't to be. That said, I think it could not have been more well handled by Lewis and by the team, and I think that owes a massive amount to the respect that there is between Lewis and the team and the huge amount of appreciation for everything we've achieved together. Qualifying was a difficult time for Lewis in this event with his run-in with the bollard. He was disappointed. We were even more disappointed for him, and yet in the debrief afterwards, when we were down in the mouth, he was telling us, look, pick your chins up. We're going to make the most of tomorrow and remember all the times when we've got this right together. And I think that's what it feels like. We've had some difficult seasons recently, but over the span of this relationship, no other driver-team partnership has come close to matching what we've done together. And it's just been a fantastic run for all of us, and we couldn't wish him more well than we did on that last day together.
And it was amazing. I mean, the emotions were palpable watching it, just celebrating everything that the team has been able to achieve with him. Just amazing. But actually, you touched on the bollard a little bit, the most infamous bollard of the entire weekend, I think. So if it wasn't for that bollard in Q1, was it possible that Lewis could have been fighting for the top three?
It's possible, yes. He'd been pretty speedy during the weekend prior, was feeling confident in the car. The gaps actually between P5 and the front row were quite small, and had he wiggled his way into Q2 without the untimely intervention of the bollard, then I think he would have had a strong qualifying session overall, and then would have been obviously much better placed to fight in the race than eventually he was.
Yeah, it was a shame with the bollard, of course. But can you talk us through the decision of putting the drivers on the hards in the qualifying session?
Oh, the single lap we did? Yeah, that's just a so-called install lap on a hard. When the tyre comes out the mould, it's super shiny, and you can just take a slight scuff on it, not putting any real work into it, but just taking that shininess off the outer surface. It can make it wake up just a little bit quicker in the race, which can help you sometimes with a tyre that otherwise needs a bit of persuasion to say hello.
So it's prepping it to be used within the race.
Yeah, there's enough time to get that scrub done in anticipation of the race.
We did see Lewis's car really come to life. How did he gain so much momentum when he switched onto that medium compound?
Onto the medium, well, of course, he was running a race which started hard and went medium. Most people in front of him were doing the opposite. They started medium and went hard. The hard was a slower tyre until it had done 30-odd laps. Eventually, its durability means that it overtakes the medium, but for the large part of its life, it's slower than the medium tyre. So at the beginning of the race, he looks comparatively unshiny on the slower rubber, but then when he puts on the medium and his car really sort of comes to life, at the very moment that some of the people in front of him are bolting on the hards and suffering the slightly slower tyre. So you get the sort of compounding effect of him picking up his pace while the others are muted in pace on a slightly slower tyre.
Yeah, the perfect match of strategy and Lewis Hamilton. It was amazing to watch. But as if this weekend wasn't emotional enough, then George goes and gives Lewis a hug before the start of the race. I mean, what an amazing partnership and amazing teammates they are. How has it been working with drivers like George Russell and Lewis Hamilton over these past few years?
I think we've been very privileged. Teammates in an F1 team, that is an unstable equilibrium at the best of times. Both drivers in any team know that they're being judged against their teammate, and that puts a strain on even the most trusting of souls. And the fact that we've had these not easy seasons with both men showing great respect to one another throughout the qualifying sessions, throughout the races, working together in free practice to try to help us improve the car, and not falling out with one another across that whole span, I think is a tribute to each of them. I was told a stat, I don't know whether it's true or not, but I was told a stat that at the point where Lewis overtook George on those last corners of the last lap, it was that overtake that actually tilted it so that Lewis ended up scoring more points than George. Over the whole span of the relationship, they'd been like dead equal up to that point. And I think the fact that they have been so good together as teammates is a thing we have benefited from greatly.
And also, I mean, we saw this weekend, George had that photo of 10-year-old himself looking for an autograph from Lewis. To then be able to race alongside his idol is quite rare, and not many drivers get to do that. And I can't even imagine how much he's learned from him.
Yeah, he's lucky to have had that apprenticeship in this team. And of course, next year he'll go on to racing against Lewis in the real sense, where it's up against Lewis in a competitor team. And I have little doubt they will continue to be very respectful towards one another, but it's inevitably going to be more combative when they're not teammates.
And I mean, I've heard you speak about Lewis before. You speak so highly of him and how much you respect him as a driver. But if you had to pick one favorite memory of Lewis's time at Mercedes, what would it be?
Well, first of all, it's a hard choice, that is, because it's a very rich gallery of experiences over these seasons. And although I'm a Johnny-come-lately to the team, I've been there through thick and thin, through 4 drivers' championships with him and five constructors. So there is a lot to choose from, but I've given this answer previously, and I tend to default back to Hungary 2017, where Lewis had been allowed to go past Valtteri to have a go at the Ferraris in front, didn't make the progress we'd hoped, but then honoured his pledge that if he was given a chance to fight the Ferraris and couldn't make it stick, that he would let Valtteri have the place back. The way that was conducted was extremely tense, extremely difficult to execute cleanly, because there was a lurking Verstappen there that made it really hard to do. And Lewis did it, and did it with real class. And I think that showed the sort of essential fairness that is in Lewis' character, right alongside this sort of snarling competitor that we all also greatly admire.
And lastly, I mean, now that the season is all wrapped up, how do you summarize the year? And very importantly, how do you feel about the W16 right now?
So the year is not one I would wish to repeat. It's been emotionally tough. It's been a right old roller coaster of extreme disappointment at the start of the year, followed by a sense of recovery, then a bit of malaise, then some more flashes, and the overall sense in the team is one of lost opportunity. We have not hit the benchmarks we would have wished to, and watching other people earn and win championships when we're spectators is no fun at all. So it's been a tough year, but that is, I think, one of the best bits of F1. It is so fiercely difficult. It is so hard to get everything right. Those that do have properly earned it, and you can but doff your cap to them because they deserve it. So when I saw the smiles on the McLaren guys this weekend, I thought, well, they've earned that. And I know what it feels like, and I envy them for it, but they've earned it. And it just fills you with the desire to experience that again yourself and for our team. So that, of course, is what all our hearts are set on for next year. It's just a stone's throw to the behind us now, the last race, but all the focus is looking forward, and that is the great thing about the sport. Whatever happened in the past is in the past, and you get your chance to redeem yourself with the next car, the next race, the next season, and hopefully it's close enough at the front that a good winter will see us do that and be fighting right from the start of the next season.